Welcome, Survivor! I'm Vedui for the 2 and we're back here in 7 Days to Die, and this time we will be looking at ammunition types and specifically the armor-piercing rounds that we have for the different weapons, such as the sniper here, we have the shotgun slugs, and of course we have some on the junk turret as well, and of course the 9mm Magnum, etc, etc. And what we will be looking at is how do they work, what do they do, and do they really work? Because that's something that is actually a really interesting question. And it's important to have the information because it does matter when you're playing the game. And I thank all of you who have been supporting my channel over 2020. I'm running up towards 16,000 subscribers, but in order for me to reach it by the end of the year, by New Year's Eve, I need your help. So if you're watching this and you haven't subscribed yet, please go down at the bottom, usually bottom right, and hit that subscribe button. And if enough of you take that moment to just go down and subscribe, it would make for an awesome end of 2020. And of course, if you're watching this afterwards, then please subscribe as well. And if you already are subscribed, thank you for the support that you've shown across this year and maybe previous years if you subscribed early on. Well, let's go back to basics here a little bit. So I have my normal pistol, and let's have a look at the normal round. It does 32 damage, it says, and then we have the armor-piercing round, which does, well, 32 damage, but it has a minus 20% target armor, and it has a target penetration of 1. So let's have a look. With a regular round, let's shoot this cop here in the stomach, go down to 451. All right, let's use the armor-piercing. It goes down to 451, and that's really peculiar because cops are generally considered armored targets. Well, let's have a look at the Demolisher because he is really definitely armored. So a Demolisher here and a Demolisher here, and he's definitely growling. So we're going to shoot with the regular ammo here, and if I shoot him, you see it's only dealing 10 damage. And if we take a pause here and we pull in the XML file of the Demolisher, you'll see he has a 60% armor rating, or rather damage reduction. So whereas each bullet here was dealing 24, it was only dealing 10 here. But what if I go to the armor piercing round, which is supposed to be lowering the armor rating, and it should be dealing more than 10 damage, but it doesn't. And that's a little bit unfortunate. And it's unfortunately not the only thing. So let's look at the very quick diverging here a little bit. Let's look at the shotgun shell. Deals 11 damage per pellet, so up to 110. It gives more armor, which means you should deal less against armored targets. We have the slugs here, which does 96 and also does, well, has a target armor of minus 20. So we'd imagine that if I shoot this at him here in the back, it should deal less damage than if I use the armor penetrating slug. So 940 and 950. Really weird result. And this is something that I ran across before when I was testing out my junk turret, because strangely enough, it turns out that armor piercing rounds actually don't deal more damage, and in some cases when it comes to against shotgun or pellet spread weapons, they actually deal less. So if armor piercing deals the same as regular ammo, well, then it's fairly pointless to use, isn't it? And the answer is, well, yes and no. Let's get rid of these ones and I'll show you another reason where they actually are important. So let's bring up the cop. Let's do another feral cop here as well. So if we're looking at the armor piercing round, let's go back to the 9mm. If we check the description, it does say it works especially well against armored targets. That part seems to not work as well. It does put a bit more stress on the gun, and that's something someone was highlighting it before. The degradation is probably, most likely, that the gun degrades a little bit faster when you're using armor penetrating rounds, which is fine. But it also mentions the bullet can, or the ammunition can penetrate one enemy or one block of up to 250 hit points to also damage the enemy standing behind it. So if I'm shooting with a regular round here, let me reload here. They both have 475. Nothing happens, right? He does not get injured. But if I switch over to the AP round, you would expect that, yes, both actually get hit. And this is really where the penetration factor plays in. It actually will be damaging both of them, of course, assuming it actually hits both of them. And that's really useful. Now, it also mentioned about the 250 hit points. So if I'm using this round, the armor piercing I'm shooting, No damage. Still no damage because it's actually more than 250 hit points. You see, it's got almost, well, 2,500. So if I remove this one though, and I put in some wood here, and this one has 225. Now you would expect that with this, it should actually penetrate, and well, you heard that as well. He actually took damage. Let's shoot again. And it took damage, and the one behind did not. So it penetrated this one and damaged the zombie behind it. So armor penetrating bullets, armor piercing bullets will penetrate one zombie or one block if the hit points is not too high. Again, this is below 250, which is actually quite useful. If they're lining up, which of course they don't always, but if you imagine there's a group of them coming and I just shoot straight in. Now, that means that I would be able to damage multiple in one go and therefore save myself a little bit of pain. Now, there is some difference in crafting as well. The regular 9mm takes 111 for tip, powder, and casing. The armor piercing one, unfortunately, takes 121. So it requires twice as much gunpowder. However, towards the mid-game, later game, gunpowder is generally not a big issue. Bullet casings might be. So even so, it might be really useful to just, as you transition into the mid-late game, start using more and more armor-piercing rounds, because the gunpowder is not going to really hold you back, but being able to penetrate and hit multiple zombies in one go is really useful when you're dealing with a bunch of zombies. So how does that work when you're using the shotgun? And it's slightly different. It's just along the similar thought that the regular one will deal damage and do extra for the target armor, which of course it doesn't work as we already covered, and the slugs deal more against armored. Again, doesn't work, but it has a penetration. And the nice thing about the slugs is that they have a target penetration of 2. So if I'm using a normal round here, I see I have 3 of them. I shoot him and one gets injured. No, all of them got injured. Okay, that should not be happening. And these ones did not. Okay, so this one is, and I've seen this happen at occasion before. Let's see again. No, it's actually going through all these ones. That should not be happening. Let's reload here. This is something that I've seen happen in the past where it goes through multiple targets even though it shouldn't. Let's try here. Nope. It does penetrate. A little bit less there. Maybe one of the pallets didn't hit. So the regular one sometimes or often do penetrate multiple. Whereas the shotgun AP slug, that's what it's actually designed to do. You shoot it, you see it hit all of them. It didn't hit that one for some reason. Let's try again. This one, okay, now it got hit. So the AP slug, it does also go through multiple zombies. Again, it had that 2. That means it's penetrating. But for some reason, as you could tell, even the regular round often seems to penetrate as well. So something is really broken with this one, because it means that if you're using the regular shell, you can actually get penetration and hit multiple zombies. The downside of the regular shell though is that it only has an effective range of 5. If we're looking at the AP slug, it has an effective range of 9. So potentially you would be able to hit them at a longer range, which actually can be fairly useful. No. Okay, no, don't blow up. No. Okay, let's just try not to have them blow up. That's actually why we have a nice big hole here, because, well, things were blowing up as I was testing things. So the regular shotgun shell is not supposed to penetrate, but it does. Very peculiar. And the difference in crafting is not actually significant. The regular shell has 1 buckshot, 4 powder, and 1 paper. The shotgun AP slug has 2 bullet tip, 4 powder, and a polymer. Polymer is easy to get as well. Not as easy as paper, but generally you have probably more problem with the gunpowder. So a little bit more tip, different using polymers instead of paper, and you're set for using the slugs. I personally like the slugs because, well, they have really good penetration. Of course, normal shotgun shells can also penetrate, as you can see, but they got a longer range. The 5 effective range on the shotgun actually makes quite a big difference. If I'm shooting here, I can hit her, but if I switch over to the shotgun shells, you see, I'm hitting. walk a little bit closer. At some point, I will actually be able to hit her if I reload properly. Nope. Nope. Now I'm actually hitting her. But if I was using the AP slug, I could go back here and I hit her even from a longer distance. So mid-late game, going to the AP slugs can be really useful, not specifically because of the target armor penetrating factor, because again, that part doesn't seem to do any difference, but simply because you have a longer effective range. Since both of them seem to be able to penetrate multiple targets, that's not a huge factor, but I think the range really helps. Now we also have to look at rifles. Rifles are sort of peculiar in that they have additional things to consider. Now they're using, and I'm using here the sniper rifle. It will also apply for the marksman rifle and the hunting rifle, not for the machine guns or the tactical assault rifle, because they're considered machine guns. So AK-47, M60, and the tactical assault rifle is not included here. But we're looking at the sniper. The regular round is 50 damage. The armor-piercing round is 50 damage, target armor penetration doesn't work, and then we have the target penetration. So you go like, well, if I use this one, good, I can penetrate multiple cops, and that definitely is the case. So I'm using this one, shooting, it takes damage as well. Is that all there's to it? No, actually it's not. If we then go to your skills, and this is under your perception skills, so if you obviously have to skill up in perception attribute quite a lot. But as you go down through the penetrator skill, you'll see that, or the perk, the piercing shot seems to work for everything. All firearms, archery and spears. As you go down to performer, puncture, and the penetrator, you'll see that this one says ignore small armor, which is fine. But it says armor piercing rounds can penetrate an additional target or block of up to 500 hit points. Only using hunting, marksman, or sniper rifle. That goes down to penetrating up to 3 additional targets or a block of up to 1,000 hit points. So what does that mean? Well, it means that, let's say let's get rid of these ones and reset it. Let me put up a bunch of cops here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if I shoot him here now, you would expect that. Yeah, I'm gonna just do that so they actually slow down so I can shoot them properly. Alright, it penetrated the first one, correct? That's what normal armor piercing do. Hit the second one, but actually penetrated the second one, hit the third. Also penetrated the third and hit the fourth. Penetrated the fourth and hit the fifth, and that's it. So just by using one round, I've actually shot 5 of them. Now they are being lined up, which is obviously not necessarily the case, but if you're having a big horde, especially if you have multiple players, it's not inconceivable that you'll be able to squeeze them into a corridor where you'll be able to hit maybe 3, 4, or 5, even 5 zombies per round. And that's massive damage. Instead of doing just a regular, let's see here, 96 damage, I'm actually doing 96 times 5, which is, well, that's a really, really high damage. If you're really lucky in doing headshots, which is unlikely to happen because they usually don't stand up and line up with the heads the same way. But it does mean that you can really do massive amount of damage to a group of zombies using specifically the marksman rifles or sniper rifles. When it comes to crafting, the regular one requires 131. AP one is 151, so it just requires a little bit of extra gunpowder in order to get armor piercing and then hit multiple zombies. So beginning of the game, I would not worry about it. Transition into the mid and late game where you're having a lot of gunpowder, definitely I would always suggest to just load armor piercing rounds, because the extra damage you're getting by hitting multiple and damaging multiple zombies really adds up when you're fighting groups, especially during a Bloodwind Horde as a result of it. And we're not done. We're actually going to be looking at another weapon type that actually has implications when using armor-piercing rounds. And that is actually the 44 Magnum or the Desert Vulture. Now, of course, the Desert Vulture has a little bit of a higher capacity, so it's a little bit nicer to use. But if we're looking at the regular round, it says it deals 70 damage, which is nice. Look at the AP round, it does 70 damage. It also has 1 target penetration. So having a look at here, I'm using the AP rounds, as you can see down here. I'm going to shoot him in the stomach and bam, I'm hitting 2 of them. And that's really useful. So if you're looking at the difference between him, armor piercing round, and the regular one, or 27, the same. But the armor piercing round will actually go through multiple zombie, so I'll hit the one behind, so I'm damaging both of them. But that's not it. There's actually more to be had here. If we'll... Okay, that actually spooked me when the game decided to stop playing the combat music. But let's have a look at the actual book series, because Magnum Enforcer is really nice as well. When you've read all these 7, read what it says. Penetration. 44 regular and hollow point ammunition can penetrate enemies and hit targets behind them. What does that mean? It means that if I'm using now, because I have red obviously, and I'm using regular ammo, this one also penetrates even though it's not armor piercing. And that's really useful. Even more so, if I'm switching to hollow point, and the fun thing about the hollow point, I normally don't use them for a lot of the weapons because I like to use the armor piercing. But for the 44 Magnum or the Desert Vulture, the damage difference is actually fairly significant. It goes from 70 to 91, and with that unlocked, the skill that I showed, I'm actually hitting both of them. So I don't have to use armor piercing rounds in order to penetrate. I can simply use hollow point. That gives me the best out of 2. So I get the extra damage from using the hollow point, but I also get the armor penetration from a normal AP round because I have the Magnum Enforcer totally unlocked, this whole big book series. So that's really, really useful. So what I would say is that as you're playing the game, if you don't have all these ones unlocked, as you transition into mid-game, try to use armor piercing because you'll be hitting multiple targets, just like with other weapons and other weapon types. As you unlock all of this one, skip the armor penetration bullets, simply use the hollow points because you're going to be dealing more damage and you will be still penetrating and hitting multiple zombies. And that's normally what you want to accomplish anyway. As a final mention, we're going to look at the junk turret, or it's called the robotic turret now. Now, if we're looking at the regular ammo, it deals 11 damage, which is fine. The AP turret ammo does 11, but see, there's a difference in range. This is 10, this is 11, not huge, but the AP ammo also penetrates. You might be thinking, well, that's really very little damage. So the regular one here, 463, switch to this one, shoot him, and 463. But you saw him in the back actually got damaged as well. What this means is that normally my problem with the junk turret or the robotic turret is that when you put it down, it will run out of ammo fairly soon. Because it will just be shoot, especially if you have everything unlocked and you have skilled up, it shoots so fast that it can drain this in, well, a very short period of time. And if you only have the regular round, you will basically only do damage to individual zombies. But if you have the AP rounds loaded, what's going to happen is that as it starts shooting, it's actually going to be hitting multiple. You see, it's actually hitting multiple as they were lined up. And you see here, now it's hitting multiple as well. Switching over, let me help that, and see it's hitting one, and now it's hitting multiple. And that's really what you want to have when it comes to, well, when it comes to, no, don't shoot her, don't shoot her. When it comes to the turret, because the problem is not that the ammo is expensive normally. The problem is that you put it down, you run around, you run a fight or something, a horde, and then, well, it shoots up all its ammunition capacity, and that's it. And you have to go back, you have to pick it up, you have to reload it, and that's really, really tedious, especially if you have multiple of these ones out. And the difference in crafting is not huge. If we're looking at the regular ammo, it's 3 iron. But if we then look at robotic, not these ones, AP turret ammo, it's 5. So it goes from 3 to 5, but then it will be penetrating as well, which means that you don't have to reload as often because, especially again, coming back to this horde, if you're having a horde or group of zombies coming towards you, it's a lot more effective. And let's do like this. It's a lot more effective to have one that is shooting through multiple than having one that is only hitting individual ones. Over time, it basically means that you're dealing a lot more damage to a group of zombies. And during Blood Moon hordes, of course, you always have groups of zombies coming to kill you. So that's another perk. But what do you think? What ammo do you use early, mid, late game? Do you like to use the armor piercing? Do you use the hollow points? Or do you just settle for using the regular rounds? Why not let me know about your playstyle and why in the comment section below. And I thank you if you're still here listening to this fairly long and winding video as I explain all of this. And if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you ping that subscribe button below and of course ring the notification bell. And if you're not quite sure that you want to support me with that free subscription, which of course I hope you do, go check some of my other videos. I have a lot of guides, tutorials, base builds, and tests that I showcase on my channel. But let's make this a wonderful end to 2020 and of course 2021 if you're watching this later on, and I'll see you next time.
Special thanks to the great patrons supporting the channel. If you would like to join the Vedui community and support these videos, do follow the Patreon link.